Have you ever witnessed a family hand their own daughter official disownment papers as a birthday gift while filming her reaction for entertainment? That's exactly what happened to me on my 31st birthday. While other families gift jewelry or vacations, mine orchestrated a public humiliation. My sister held up her phone, recording the historic moment as I opened the envelope. My mother smiled with satisfaction as she announced, "From all of us." Hello, I'm Gianna Dixon, 31 years old. Today, I want to share the story of the most dramatic reversal of my life. When my family disowned me, thinking I was just a failed waitress, not knowing I was about to step onto a stage as director of a billion-dollar hotel corporation. What they didn't realize was that their cruelty came at the perfect time. I had already signed a contract that would change everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this all really began. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Growing up in the Dixon family meant living in the shadow of success. My father, Robert Dixon, served as CFO of Temps Corporation, overseeing $500 million in annual revenue. My mother, Eleanor, ran the Eleanor Foundation with a $50 million budget, hosting galas that made the society pages. My sister, Victoria, 3 years older, had just closed a $200 million acquisition as a senior associate at Baker & Associates. And then there was me, a hostess at the Meridian, Chicago's 2 Michelin star restaurant, earning $65,000 a year. Last Thanksgiving, the comparison started before the turkey was carved. "Gianna's still serving tables?" my mother asked, her voice dripping with disappointment. She said it like I was confessing to a crime. At your age, I was already on 3 boards. My father wouldn't even look at me. When his business partner asked about his daughters, he gestured only to Victoria. "This is Victoria, our lawyer. She handles all our complex negotiations." I stood right there, invisible. Victoria had recently updated her LinkedIn. Proud to be following in my parents' footsteps in business leadership. No mention of a sister. It was like I'd been digitally erased from the family narrative. But David Brennan, the Meridian's general manager, saw something they didn't. David Brennan pulled me aside after I handled a crisis with Japanese executives. "Gianna, the way you managed the Yamamoto situation yesterday was exceptional. You didn't just save the evening. You turned it into a $2 million catering contract." When I mentioned it at dinner, my family laughed. "Lucky someone else was there to clean up the mess for you." They had no idea who had been watching that night. The exclusion started small but grew deliberate. January's charity gala arrived without my invitation. "It wouldn't be appropriate, darling," my mother said. "Our donors expect a certain caliber." Victoria's Instagram stories showed her champagne smile where I should have been. Investor dinners became forbidden territory. Family photos were cropped strategically. The Christmas card featured 3 people, not 4. "You're being too sensitive," Victoria said. "What would you contribute? Wine recommendations?" David Brennan noticed everything. "You read people better than executives with MBAs," he told me. That same night, while clearing tables, an email arrived. Sender, M. Sir Whitmore, subject. "Regarding your exceptional service." My hands trembled. Marcus Whitmore, CEO of Grand Plaza Hotels, had seen everything. "My talents are being wasted," he wrote. "Would you consider a conversation about your future?" My family thought I was nobody. Marcus Whitmore thought otherwise. And staying silent was costing me my health. My doctor didn't sugarcoat it. "Your cortisol levels are dangerously high. Panic attacks, insomnia. This stress is aging you from the inside." 3 anxiety medications sat in my cabinet. Family dinners gave me migraines. My therapist asked, "When was the last time you made a decision without considering your family?" I couldn't answer. Even my dating life collapsed. "They spent dinner explaining why you weren't good enough," James said before leaving me. My bank account told the same story. Thousands donated to my mother's foundation. My money. Her name. Then I learned the truth. At a board meeting I wasn't invited to, she announced I donated $50,000 that quarter. My money presented as hers. "You need boundaries," my doctor warned. And then Marcus emailed again. "I don't make offers twice. Shall we discuss your worth?" That same week, my mother demanded I serve unpaid at her gala, in my uniform. "For tax reasons," she added. My father asked, "When will you finally do something that makes us proud?" Victoria sent me a job posting for an executive assistant. "This seems more your speed." That night, crying in my car, I finally replied. "Mr. Whitmore, I'm ready. February 28th, 2024. Chateau Lumiere, my 31st birthday dinner. Private room. 15 relatives. A camera setup. My mother toasted, 'To Gianna's future, may it finally begin.' I'd already signed my contract. Before appetizers, my father said, 'We have your gift.' The verbal attack came first. 'You embarrass us.' Still serving tables. Then the envelope. Dixon family letterhead. 'We hereby formally disown Gianna Marie Dixon.' 3 signatures. Dated my birthday. Victoria filmed everything. I folded the letter calmly. 'Thank you,' I said. 'This makes everything easier.' 'Easier?' my father scoffed. 'Written proof I owe you nothing.' I stood. 'My show starts tomorrow. You're not invited.' And I walked out. 8 months earlier, Marcus Whitmore had watched me turn a crisis into gold. He left his card. The interviews were secret. 5 rounds. No family interference. January 10th, 2024. Director of Guest Experience. $285,000 base. Equity, penthouse. March 1st, start date. After my birthday dinner, the family attacks exploded. Texts, voicemails, public humiliation. Then David Brennan smiled. "Grand Plaza just called. I gave you the highest recommendation of my career. Tomorrow, I'd start my new life. March 1st. Executive badge. 47th floor office. Director Dixon." Marcus handed me my first assignment. "Prepare the keynote for our March 15th gala." My mother was on the planning committee. She had no idea. Yet, March 15th, 500 executives, my family front row. Marcus spoke. "The individual responsible was a hostess making $65,000? Gasps. "Please welcome our new director of guest experience, Gianna Dixon." My mother dropped her glass. Victoria dropped her phone. I spoke about dignity, about seeing people. The standing ovation shook the room. Security escorted my family out. "This is my venue now," I said. The cameras captured everything. By morning, headlines exploded. Donors fled. My mother lost everything. My father was forced into early retirement. Victoria's career collapsed. Meanwhile, my career soared. Forbes called. Promotions followed. Boundaries held. 1 year later, I stood free. The disownment letter hangs framed in my office. Not as pain, as proof. If this story resonates with you, remember this. Sometimes losing toxic people isn't the tragedy. It's the upgrade. They thought they erased me. Instead, they freed me to write my own story. 1 year later, the same date circled back around like a quiet test. February 28th. I stood in the Grand Plaza rooftop garden just after sunrise. Chicago still sleepy beneath a thin veil of winter light. The city looked softer from up here. Forgiving, even. My assistant had handed me a small envelope that morning, no return address, dropped at reception by someone who refused to give their name. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Not a legal document this time, not letterhead, just handwriting that looked like it had been practiced in front of a mirror. "Gianna, we were wrong. We let pride and image turn us into monsters. I don't expect forgiveness. I only hope you're happy. Mom." I read it once, then twice. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because it didn't own me anymore. Michael found me by the glass railing, my coat pulled tight, the letter folded neatly in my palm. "You're quiet," he said. "I'm free," I answered. Then I handed him the note. He read it, looked up, and waited. He never rushed me, never tried to direct my feelings like a board meeting agenda. "Do you want to respond?" he asked. I stared out at the skyline, at the lake, at the life I'd built brick by brick with no applause from the people who thought they were entitled to my collapse. "I already did," I said softly. "With my silence, with my boundaries, with my peace." Later that day, we hosted the monthly meeting of the Professional Orphans Group in Conference Room C. There were new faces and familiar ones. A woman who had been disowned for marrying outside her culture. A man whose father told him he'd never be a real doctor because he went to a state school. A young concierge who had been mocked for just checking people in while she quietly supported her siblings through college. They all looked at me like I was proof that the word enough could become real. I held up the framed disownment letter, the one that still hung in my office. They meant this to be my ending, I told them. But it became my beginning. Then I clicked to the final slide of my presentation. Grand Plaza Frontline to Leadership Initiative. 100 promotions. 5 full scholarships. 2 international exchange programs. A new standard for how talent is seen and rewarded. The room applauded, but it wasn't the kind of applause my old family chased. It wasn't about status. It was about recognition. That night, Michael and I had dinner in the penthouse. Not a dramatic dinner, not a revenge dinner, just a real one. Soft music, warm lighting, a table set for 2. He raised his glass. "To the woman who stopped begging to be loved correctly," he said. I clinked mine against his. "And to the version of me who finally believed she deserved better," I replied. A week later, the American Hospitality Awards came and went. My family was there, somewhere in the crowd, because Chicago is a small stage when you live long enough in the spotlight. I saw Victoria across the ballroom. She looked smaller than she used to, not physically, but in the way confidence disappears when it is built on other people's approval. She started walking toward me like she was rehearsing an apology she could sell. I didn't let it become a scene. When she got close, I smiled politely. The way I smile at strangers who don't get access to my life. "Gianna," she said, voice shaking. "Can we talk?" I nodded once, calm and professional. "You can email my assistant," I said. "If it's urgent, she'll schedule you." Her face tightened, like she wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Not here. Not in my world. Not on my terms. Then I turned back to the people who actually showed up for me. My colleagues, my team, my chosen family. Because that was the real reversal, not their downfall, not the headlines, not the viral embarrassment. The real ending was this. I stopped needing them to understand my worth. I stopped explaining myself to people committed to misunderstanding me. I stopped shrinking to make their lives look bigger. They disowned me, thinking they were erasing me. Instead, they signed the document that set me free. So if you're watching this and you've been made to feel like the family disappointment, I want you to hear me clearly. Sometimes losing them is not the tragedy. Sometimes it is the upgrade. And sometimes the coldest rejection becomes the warmest permission slip you ever receive. Now tell me this. If your family handed you a goodbye as a gift, would you walk away quietly like I did? Or would you expose the truth and let them face it? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you've ever been underestimated by the people who should have protected you, subscribe. Because the next story might sound like fiction until you realize it's somebody's real life.